Welcome to the Love That For Us podcast.
Come hang out with us as we explore a holistic approach to entrepreneurship, wellness, and navigating relationships in adulthood.
We'll be getting vulnerable about life and dishing the business expertise we've learned along the way, interviewing industry professionals,
All while you get your weekly dose of girl talk and heart to hearts. We're your hosts, Carissa Emiko,
and Ashton Brooke.
and this is the Love That For Us podcast. Welcome back, everybody. How you doing, Ash?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm so good. I like your tree. We both have our trees in the background now.
We're
cute.
tree twinning.
Tyler still hasn't put the Christmas lights up, which, if you're listening to this, Tyler, the time has passed that I gave you
Like
to
on
put up the
the
Christmas
outside of your
lights.
house?
Yes, I'm dying. I need there
Same.
to be cheer when I
Same.
come home. You don't have Christmas lights either?
No, they're sitting in a box.
Oh, Tyler, will get your shit together. We need
We're
the
ready.
cheer. We're ready for the lights. Okay, today we're talking about mindset, and Ashton and I literally love this topic so much. We've coached on it a ton. It's one of our favorite things to coach on because everything starts with mindset. So we're going to get into that in a couple minutes. We're going to do a really quick catch us up first and then get straight into mindset. So
Yeah.
Ashton, catch us up.
Okay, so in the last week, my big event was going to a Dallas Cowboys game with my dad. My dad turned 60 in November, and he and I are both really big Cowboys fans, and I surprised him with a trip to Dallas to see them play. They played the Seahawks on a Thursday night, and oh my gosh, it was so fun and low-key scary because we've gone to a game in Dallas once before together, and we lost really bad. And
Wait, are you saying that's why it was scary? Because you were scared to lose?
Yeah.
I was like, what happened? Did you were you in a
No.
sketchy area? You're like, no, it was so scary that we would lose again.
I just and I know you can't go to a game with the assurance that you're going to win, and that's why you have fun. But I needed a win, for a big event like that, his big birthday.
Right. His 60th birthday. That would have sucked.
It would have been
if you
super
guys lost
sad.
on
And it
that
was
trip.
a super close game. We pulled out the win, but it was literally up until the last minute and a half. It was it could have gone either way. So it was really, really fun. And then we just hung out the next day together until our flights in Fort Worth, and just spent time together. So it was super special. I loved it so
That's
much.
cute. And it was just you and your dad, right?
It was just the two of us. Yeah. No one else in my family are Cowboys fans. So it's literally him and I.
That's cute.
Yeah.
That's super cute.
What about you?
Okay. Well, when everyone will be hearing this episode, it will be Wednesday, but right now we're recording on a Monday, which is day 1 of this 75 self-love challenge that I'm doing. So, 75 hard, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 75 hard is
never done it.
Hard. It's hard. Honestly, I want to do it one day. I think the point of it is more the discipline and the mindset kind of of it and habit forming, but I do think it's super intense. If you don't know what 75 hard is, it's this challenge. It's super gnarly. It's 2 45-minute workouts a day. One has to be outside. Drink a gallon of water, read 10 pages of a self, what are those books
Self-help.
called? I guess a self-help book. Yeah. Nonfiction. Wait, nonfiction? Fiction. A fiction book. Whatever the one is.
Fiction's made up.
Thank you. Nonfiction. Wait, are you sure?
Yeah, fiction is made up. Nonfiction would be real life, history or an autobiography or something like that. Or self-help is also considered nonfiction.
I'm really overthinking the fiction, nonfiction. Anyway, self-help type of book. Yeah, there's other it's one of them's follow a diet. There's just some things I'd probably change about it anyway, but I'm doing 75 self-love. It's starting today. This is my list. Are you ready? Drink water, move your body, get ready for the day, whatever that means to you. Take your supplements, mirror affirmations, gratitude, 1 page of journaling, meditating 10 minutes, start and end the day with no phone, and sit outside in the sun. Which, as I'm saying that list, it kind of sounds long, but those things don't take a lot of time, and a lot of them I can habit stack. So I actually don't really feel overwhelmed by the list currently. But I've just kind of been in a mental funk. Like I need a mental health reset. I've gotten really out of my like habits that are I know just make me better and show up better in the world.
Mhm.
And I've really gotten out of those habits. So I'm really doing this as just like a love myself. If I mess up one day, as in like I don't do them all, I'm not hard on myself. It's fine. In 75 hard, you literally start over if you mess up one day. We're not doing that with 75 self love. It's just a guide of like these things that I really want to prioritize in my life that I know I feel really good when I'm doing them. So today's day one.
So you can keep us
And
updated as you go
so I'll
along.
keep you updated, but it's 75 days. So that's a while. And I feel
It is a
excited
while.
about it. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Love that for you.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
So go for it, Ash.
Well, Krista said, we love this topic. We think it's so important because whether you're in business or literally just a human on this planet, we know how important mindset is to your personal and professional success. Like it's really the foundation that's laid for everyone across the board. So we think it's just one of the first when it comes to like business topics that we share and teach on here on the podcast. We know that this is like one of the first ones we wanted to hit on.
Yeah.
Um, so we are just going to dive in and kind of just, I guess, go back and forth to things that like we have learned, we've read, we've taught, and then also things like we've applied for ourselves. But yeah, the first one is just going to be the power of your mind because our mind is such a powerful place and space, and we want you to sort of view your mindset as a muscle. This is something that you might not feel really strong in right now. That's okay. Day one of going to the gym, you don't feel really strong either, but you are going to work that out and you're going to grow that muscle and strengthen it. And it's the same thing with the way that we approach mindset and strategies behind mindset. You're going to get better at it. So always view it as a muscle and give yourself grace through the process. You're in control. The cool thing here is like you are the one and only person who gets to control your mind. But it's really important to not be a victim of your mindset either. Like, I think a lot of people struggle with that victim, just slipping into a bit of mentality with mindset issues because
Yeah.
it's just more comfortable to be a victim and be like, well, I have this up against me. I have that going, not going for me. And we want to push you guys out of that mindset of you have too many things stacked against you to be successful and overcoming that victim mindset to what if you overcome this and what if you overcome the challenges you have in front of you, like what's available to you on the other side of that growth and that process. Carissa, you and I also, before we like keep going, love to talk about the science behind our mind, and I think you and I have both studied this a lot. um do you want to share like what we know about our brain?
Yeah. Okay. So our brains are malleable. Like our brains can change, right? I'm actually thinking of this section of our podcast with Stephanie Somatics, where she talked about being able to actually change your mind, like little grooves that a marble can go down. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go listen to that episode. But basically, like we have the power to literally change our mind. And that's why we're not a victim of our mindset, like Ashton was just saying. And a huge part of this, I would say, I also just want to start with this as we're listening, as you listen to the rest of this podcast, is self awareness and also so much self compassion for what you discover through your self awareness. Like, if you listen to this podcast and you're like, well, shit, my mindset sucks, like, that's okay. It's okay. You're by listening to this and by becoming self aware of the patterns of your mind, now you're in a position where you're empowered to change it. Where before, if this is information that you just didn't know, then maybe you wouldn't take the steps to better your mindset. So if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, I really need to improve that area, or I can see how this like fixed mindset or scarcity mindset I have is negatively affecting my life, just like give yourself a little hug and it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. And like the good news is with the science, like you literally can change your mind. You might have been taught through your family or your environment or your caregivers to have a fixed mindset or to have a like negative lack scarcity mindset. And a lot of those times like, I mean, that is the pattern of your brain right now. How you view the world, your belief system is what you were raised with. And I think as we become adults, we have to deconstruct a lot of that and figure out what we want to take and leave and who we are ourselves. And when it comes to this mindset, um, that basically, like, because it's a muscle, the more you practice it, the more it actually changes to where
Mm-hmm.
your go-to mindset can actually completely switch from a negative one to a positive one. But it is like a muscle. You have to practice it. You have to go to the mindset gym, so to speak, and do
Mm-hmm.
reps. You have to do it over and over and over again to actually strengthen it. And you're actually able to create new neural pathways in your brain. And this is the literal science behind it is your neurons learn to fire in kind of the quickest like path of least resistance, right? So for example, if you have a negative mindset around money, when the conversation of money is brought up and maybe you have a very like lack mindset around money, like you don't have enough, well, when someone says like, "Hey, there's this really fun concert I want to go to on Friday. Do you want to come?" Well, when your system hears the like even maybe the word money or the concept of money, your brain's, because you have a lack mindset around money, your brain is going to fire so quick to I can't go, I don't have enough. Like it's going to
Mm-hmm.
get there so quick because it's fired that way so many times, and that's how the neurons in your brain work. And to switch that, you literally have to in that moment catch yourself, kind of speak back to yourself and fire a new neural pathway that your brain's going to be like, this feels weird, because it's
Mm-hmm.
literally a new neural pathway that you don't usually fire, and you fix it in that moment. Well, the more you fire that one by literally consciously deciding to believe that or change your mind, that new neural pathway gets stronger and stronger. And so we're actually able to literally change the way our neurons fire in our brain, in our thought processes, processes. So that's really freaking cool. And
Mm-hmm.
again, if this is all new to you, or you're just like, I want to form new neural pathways to give me a better mindset, self-awareness and self-compassion, like be so easy on yourself in this process, because when you come to the place of having the self-awareness where you're like, "Ooh, I just noticed that thought that I want to change," you can't then shame that thought and like get upset at yourself and mad at yourself. Like you have to just look at that thought and be like, that thought used to serve me, that thought's here to protect me, like thank you thought, but we don't believe that, and you create a
Mm-hmm.
new one. And it just has to be this like grace-filled compassion towards yourself through the process. So that's a little bit about the science. Quick little science lesson on how
Mm-hmm.
you can literally change your mind, which is so cool. And I hope you feel empowered by that, because that, like, we're sitting here telling you right now, like, you can literally change this. You don't have to have this kind of like negative mindset towards anything. You literally can change your mind over time. So, um, okay, there's a couple different types of mindsets that we want to talk about today. The first one is growth mindset versus fixed mindset. So, do you want to explain those, Ash? Do you want me to explain them?
Yeah. So one of the books that I've read for this specific topic is by Carol Dweck, and it's literally all about this concept of growth versus fix. Like basically, our brain exists in these two spaces, and by nature, because our brain's job is to protect us at all cost, it is naturally very negatively, like, it leans negative because it's looking for danger. And I think it's important to know this about our brains because, like Chris has said, we want to have compassion, we want to have awareness, and honestly, just to thank ourselves, like thank our brain for doing its job when it's looking for negative things to be aware of. But with that comes a lot more effort involved to not be so negatively, um, I don't know what the word is. It's just like instinctively negative, maybe, toward
Yeah.
your outlooks on certain situations or your business or family stuff. Um, so your brain is probably a little bit more in a fixed mindset by nature because it is just comfortable, and it uses less energy, honestly, when it's in a negative or fixed mindset. So a fixed mindset is essentially like the thought process or like conversation in your head, such as you already possess the skills and knowledge like you're ever going to have. Like you only know as much as you're ever going to know for the rest of your life. Or you've convinced yourself that you can't succeed even if you haven't even tried something yet. Like you are already there and you're already fixed right where you're at. Like you're not really going to go anywhere versus a growth mindset, which is going to tell you that you can learn anything that you want. You can develop any skill that you set out to develop. And so those are like the two narratives going on in growth versus fixed mindset. And a similar phrases that you might hear is also like scarcity versus abundance mindset. Obviously, fixed is the same as scarcity, and growth is the same as abundant. So you might view business like this. You might have a lot of fear behind business decisions and a lot of scarcity mindset behind some of the choices you have to make when you're running a business or starting a business or just trying something new. You might have like the scarcity mindset of like, well, what if I don't make my money back? What if I completely fail and go bankrupt or totally flop and everyone sees me just crumble like online because my business is put out online? Or your scarcity mindset could be like, I can't afford to do that. Like I have other bills that I have to pay. Or like, what if this just doesn't work for me? It's not worth it. All of those things are categorized in the narrative of scarcity mindset instead of choosing an abundance mindset, which is going to say things like, what if I find out how my business succeeds when I start?
Mm-hmm.
Or what if I make back 10 times the amount of money I invested in the beginning of this business? What if I can't afford not to try because there's so much that I might have success with? And what if I view failure as just like lessons to learn along the way and not this like epitome of like doom over my life in the future? So I think it's important to know what are the natural things that your brain is telling you? What are the natural thoughts you're having about your business? Or it could be relationships, it could be anything that when you stop and pause and ask yourself, what are my beliefs about that? And then categorize it as, is this scarcity or is this abundance? Is this growth? Or am I stuck in a fixed mindset where there is no opportunity to move forward?
Right. I want to give like an example too of that growth first fixed, because you can identify this in yourself with how you believe about yourself, but also you can identify this with what you believe about others' success as well. So let's take like basketball, for example. Like you could see somebody like really good at basketball, and you could look at that person and think, I could never be like that. That person was born with these natural skills of like, that person's just so good and I can never get there. So, what you're believing is in fixed mindset for both you and that other person. You're saying that person already had those skills and that's why they're so good. And I can't get there because I just don't have those skills. So, because you believe that, are you going to try and be better? No, because you believe that you don't have it and they have it, right? As opposed to looking at that person and thinking, wow, that person worked so hard to get to where they are. That person must practice every day to be that good at basketball. I can do that too. Completely different, right? So I think you could see somebody, maybe you're like scrolling on Instagram and you're like, wow, she's so lucky, right? Like, no, actually, she probably worked really freaking hard to get where she was at, and you're not seeing the trial and error of that process. And so you can even see that if you have that thought come out, wow, they're so lucky, instead of saying like, you, that's one of those thoughts you can even stop and change. Oh, wait, no, she's not lucky. She worked really hard. And those are those like little changes that you make to be able to change your mind on what you believe about success or how you achieve something or what's coming to you in your life, right? So, growth, that's like a little bit of growth versus fixed. And then I think too is scarcity and abundance. Scarcity asks, what's the worst that could happen? And abundance asks, what's the best that could happen? Obviously, those are two completely different answers. Like,
Yeah.
two completely different answers. And I love the question, what's the best that could happen? Because you don't usually hear that. You usually always hear people like, what's the worst that could happen? As almost like a, go for it, whatever, what's the worst that could
Yeah.
happen? When like, really, if you just settle into what you feel when you're like, what's the best that could happen? You just like are like, whoa, like what is the best that could happen? Like now
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to just dream really big and see all the good possibilities that could come to me from this risk or this business risk or decision. And you're then open to those possibilities instead of always just acting and moving in a way to try and not let the scary bad things happen to you, and it completely changes the way you approach your entire life
And
and
don't
your
you think those
business.
thoughts like have to be producing like more serotonin, more dopamine in our body because it's like, whoa, like
Yeah,
imagine if like this happens and that gets really
right,
exciting and your brain and your body start to be like motivated and inspired and
right,
like what a cool place to work from. And it's not natural and it does take like that conscious effort, but like we're talking about like growing that muscle, like let your imagination run and watch that like
right,
serotonin hit and like excite you and inspire you because you want to work from that place, not from this like clenched place of like fear or doubt or worry or comparison, which I think is eating alive people's mindset. Like we're just online looking at people's comparison or sorry, comparing our we've talked about this in I think the messy action episode, like our step 1 to their step 10. And
right,
then we've determined that we can't do it because they've had all the success and they have all these things like lined up. Like you and I hear this a lot. People will be like, I don't have enough followers to like do what you guys do. And
mm-hmm,
it's okay. That's just not like A plus B doesn't always equal C with like followers and success. Like that's not true. And also, we started at zero. We both
right,
everyone you're looking at has started from something,
right.
from nothing and grown it into something. So got that mixed up. So I think just like check yourself, like that comparison is going to be like the biggest roadblock for you, probably if you're someone like me in your own mindset. Like I will look at someone else's success and be like, that's so cool that like they have that and that just is so natural for them. And I've stuck myself in a fixed mindset of like I guess that success isn't for me, or I guess like that journey can't be my own. And it's not the muscle we're trying to flex when moving
Right.
forward and like making progress in our businesses.
Okay, so let's talk about like what people can do. What are these like self-awareness practices to where people can start to change? Um, I feel like because, okay, so once you get this awareness piece and you honestly are surrounding yourself with people that care about mindset, you're like reading articles, watching content, like reading books that are about this, like it's in more of the forefront of your mind. It's on the front burner, so to speak.
The front burner,
The
there she
front
is
burner,
again.
not the back burner. Um, and I like this is what I do for myself, and this is what I teach people to do is just like find there's a little flag. You have a little flag in your mind. You can make it whatever color flag you want it to be. Mine is like a little yellow flag that just pops up, and I have this physical symbol in my mind because I really do think it helps me. Like I've attached this symbol to this like little mindset catcher of like, oh, wait, that's not true. Like that's fixed mindset, or oh, wait, like that's scarcity mindset. And that to me has become kind of just this like almost playful, like less serious way to catch myself in a negative thought process or a fixed mindset that's trying to protect me from something or scarcity. Like this little flag just pops up, and I'm able to just take a moment and stop and like consciously change my mind, right? So anytime I have, anytime you are saying the words, not, I don't have enough blank, right there, 100% you're in scarcity mindset. And you might be like, wait, Krista, I actually don't have enough time to XYZ. And I call bullshit. And the reason I call bullshit, and it's hard because it's like, I'm not you, and you might be a single mom with 3 kids and feel like there's no way you can tell me that I have the same amount of time as that 21-year-old single college girl or whatever. And I'm like, okay, yes, sure, that's true. And like the amount of maybe tasks you feel like you have to complete in a day, that's still not an excuse. And the reason I say that is because I know people in that situation that still prioritize and make time for the things that matter to them. And that's the truth, is you're going to make time for the things that matter to you. So even if you're saying, I don't have enough time, what are you really saying if you're like that single mom with 3 kids? You're saying, well, my day is filled with taking care of them and making their lunches and get like whatever. That's fine. That's you're still choosing that. And that's still like how you're choosing to prioritize your time. So the change there isn't necessarily like, I have all the time in the world, because that might not feel true to you. But the change isn't, I don't have enough time. And from I don't have enough time to I choose to prioritize my time with my family, or I choose to prioritize my time with my kids, right? um, what that does is it rewires your brain to understand that every moment of your life that you spend is a choice. You're not a victim of your time. And when you say, I don't have enough time, you're a victim of your time. There is a pile of time and there's not enough for you to do what you want to do, as opposed to this everybody has 24 hours in a day. What are you going to choose to do with it? Like that's your choice. Like no matter what, you're choosing to do what you do with the 24 hours in your time. If you're a student, you're choosing to go to school. If you're a parent, you're choosing to parent. If you do business, you're choosing every second of your day. So you're not a victim of it. And it's little changes like that where you're able to catch yourself. Okay, it's not that I don't have enough, it's that I'm choosing this. Or if you're like, oh, same thing with knowledge. People are like, oh, I just don't
Mm-hmm.
know enough about this. It's like, well, who,
Go
like,
learn it.
go learn it. Like, not, I don't want to sound like harsh and be like, well, whose fault is that? But like, that's, and it just, when you switch from the victim of, I don't have enough knowledge, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, to taking responsibility for it. Well, once you're in the place of taking responsibility for it, now you can change it. You cannot change it when you're a victim of your time. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
change it when you're a victim of anything. You're a victim. You're out of control, right? But once you put yourself into control, then you actually have the power to make moves to change it. Then where people get tripped up on is now you also have like failure lives in that zone too. Now you can also
Mm-hmm.
mess up. Now you can also fall on your face, right? But like
But how
what
you view
happened
that mess up
exactly?
is
Talk about
so,
that. Yeah.
so important. The other thing that came to mind when you're talking was this phrase that you and I like sometimes throw at each other is like radical responsibility. And when people are victims of their own time or victims of that not enough narrative that you just touched on, um, it dismisses this need for radical responsibility in whatever position you're in. When if you have this goal, if you have something that you want to do, are you taking radical responsibility to get there? And if not, that's okay, but just like accept what is fact for you. Like accept how you are choosing to spend your time. Like I can
Right.
tell, I can be honest with everyone listening right now. Like I have watched more TV shows in the last month than like I typically do, and that's my choice. Like I feel I'm
Right.
okay with that. I don't always watch this much TV, but I'm not going to play that game where I'm like, oh, well, I'm not getting what I want because I don't have enough time. Like I'm my self-awareness when I'm honest and take a very real look at my time spent. My choice has been to watch more TV in the last month than like most of the year. And that's such an important part of being honest and like stripping away um these cushiony feelings that might protect you and make you feel good and just be like, you know what, I have chosen to do this with my time and that's okay and I like that and I'm not going to shame myself for that. But if you're not getting to the place you want to be and if you're not making moves where you know you need to make moves, it's important to just have that very real honest look at yourself and like how you're choosing to spend your time or what decisions you're making that are keeping you from wherever you're trying to go, because that radical responsibility will push you to movement and action that I do think is going to provide you the result that you're probably looking for. And so that movement lives in abundance mindset, and it lives in, I think, a big place of honesty with yourself that in general just isn't like our natural instinct to peel back and take a hard look at it because we want to just like make excuses sometimes for like how we're spending our time or like even how we spend our money. Like I think that's that's a real one with people. um I want to be careful how we talk about money because I know everyone is in such a different place. However, people spend their money where they value it. Like
Right.
your values determine like what you're choosing to spend your money on. And so that's a touchy one, but I do think it's important to say like am I broke or have I put my values in things that like that's okay if you value X, Y, and Z. Just be honest with yourself. Like
Right.
take a hard look at like how you've actually spent every penny and determine like did you have enough money for what you wanted to invest in or like put money into this like side hustle or something that you wanted to do or did you just choose something else and that's okay but it's
Right.
important to stop and just be real with yourself.
And I think I hear your hesitancy that I also share of like talking about money because we both are very privileged and
Mm-hmm.
we didn't, I mean, to my knowledge for you too, like we didn't really, you and I didn't grow up worrying about money. Like, and I know some people grow up, or would you say that?
No, I didn't worry about money. I didn't feel an abundance of it, but it wasn't a stressor.
Right. Same. Yeah, same. I would agree with that, which is to me that's a privilege to not have like a
Yes,
conscious like money story that like money is
correct.
stressful.
Correct.
Um so I think we both have like a privilege in our perspective with that, and we both are privileged with money to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to just be careful and say like I'm not speaking to the person that is being very careful with their money and still cannot like in this today maybe afford groceries. I'm speaking to
Yeah.
the person that buys a $5 Starbucks every day and tells me they don't have enough money to start a side hustle.
Yeah.
Like that is, do you really not have enough money or do you choose to spend your money on Starbucks? There's a completely, and again, that's okay.
Yeah. You do
Go
you.
off with your like, I'm not a Starbucks girl, but let me just tell you, I saw like an ad for their like holiday cold foams, which are probably so unhealthy, but they looked yummy and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to try them. Anyway, side note, it's okay if you want to go spend $5 to $10 on your Starbucks every day.
Literally, it's like eight
Literally
at
to
this
10 to
point.
15 to $20
Oof.
a day on your Starbucks. Own it. Just own it because
Mm-hmm.
again that puts you in the position of power. When
Mm-hmm.
I started changing my responses to I'm not going to choose to spend my time doing that or I'm not going to choose to spend my money on that. Like when people would say, "Do you want to come to this place with me and it costs this amount of money?" Instead of saying, I don't have enough money to do that this month, I literally have changed my response to, I'm not going to choose to spend my like allotted money I have for that this month. And like,
Yeah.
you just watch how like your life and your beliefs change when you actually start to change those little phrases. I think with social media, like a big one we hear, like you said, is I don't have enough followers.
Mm-hmm. Or
I
experience.
don't have enough experience or knowledge. If you are sitting in that, if you are sitting in the belief of I don't have enough XYZ, you don't have your power. Like period,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have your power. And you've already given up. Like you've literally already given up because your belief determines your action. And so if you believe that you
Mm-hmm.
don't have enough followers to work in social media, or if you believe that you don't have enough experience to start network marketing, you've already written your story. It's the end. You've already told
Right.
yourself, I can't do it. When you completely change those things into, I can grow my following, I can learn. Now look at the opportunity that's just opened up. So many people with scarcity mindset and fixed mindset are closing doors of opportunity on themselves because they've just already written their story. They've already decided I can't do it. They've already decided I don't have the skill, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, and they've written themselves out of beautiful opportunity in the world
Mm-hmm.
of business. And which one do you want? Like you have to be really real
Mm-hmm.
with yourself. If you're listening to this and you're like, "Ooh, I have a fixed mindset or I have a scarcity mindset." I think you honestly have to like look yourself in the mirror and ask, "Do you want to change that?" Like, do
Yeah.
you want to change that? Because it involves some work. It's not like okay, tomorrow I'm just going to have a fixed mindset and an abundance mindset. Like it's literally like going to the gym when you have to operate
Yeah, it's not
that
comfortable.
muscle. It's not comfortable. No.
But I think like you specifically have done a really, really good job for me to change towards specifically the word abundance in my own mindset practices. Like there's literally enough of everything that I need available. Like there's enough money to be made, there's enough experience to be found, there's enough knowledge to be learned. There's everything available to me, especially in today's world. Like, are you kidding? Everything is at our fingertips. If you have a phone, if you have a computer and access to Wi-Fi, like you can learn, I would argue, almost anything at the foundational level of something you want to start, if not
Mhm.
like level 10, 11, 12. Like there's so much content in the world. There's podcasts, there's books. Like I just think knowledge should be the last excuse that we don't have enough of to like
Yeah.
start
It's so
something.
true.
And the thing with experience is like that just comes like with, go back and listen to Messy Action if you need to. It's like
Yeah.
you just have to start gaining that experience to move forward and grow that muscle, because you will start to feel more comfortable in your experience. Like if you're struggling on social media, just keep going and build that muscle. There's so much abundance of experience for you to like live out and pursue and gain that confidence. Like it is available, and it's just going to take that action one foot in front of the other. But Carissa, you've done such a good job of helping me rephrase a lot of things. Like you often say things like when you dot dot dot, not if you.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
You're really good at that.
that's a really big one that I've changed. And again, that's just come with practice. Like that's a
Mm-hmm.
conscious decision I made. That didn't just float out of my mouth one day. Like I really pause and think before I speak about that. If you changing if you to win you is like
Mm-hmm.
there's an expectant energy when you say win
Yeah.
you. There's something to look forward to, there's something to imagine, there's something you can, like a vision you can put yourself inside of. For me, I don't know, I think all the little word tricks are like huge for me to just, and because it's your mind too, like
Right.
when you talk about the science again, like your mind doesn't actually know, I don't want to mess up how
You
the
can mess it
science
up.
of this. I can mess it up. When you say something in your mind, like your mind doesn't know the difference between reality and what's actually like what's actually happening versus what you're saying in your mind, which is why like manifesting is so powerful. Um, it's not like some mystical woo woo thing. It's literally science of your brain. Like you're telling your brain or you're imagining like this is the success I have, this is the mindset I have. Like your brain actually believe that's your brain actually believes that that's true because it's what you're telling yourself. So the way that you naturally start to act towards these different goals you have is going to be different if you're telling yourself you already have it, or if you're telling yourself that you want it, or that it's going to happen. Like it actually changes your action.
Do you mean like speaking something out loud instead of just thinking it? Like your brain will
Both.
believe what you're speaking?
It's both. Yeah. So like when you're imagine like if you literally close your eyes for 5 to 10 minutes a day and like play a movie in your head of yourself with everything that you want, like your brain as in like the present tense, like it's already
Mm-hmm.
happened, your brain thinks that that's real. Like you have the power in your mind to actually make things come to life because it's kind of like tricking your brain. Like your brain doesn't know
Mm-hmm.
different from like what's actually happening versus what you're telling it. So when you think about that, like the words that you use, the words that you speak to yourself are so powerful, like
Yeah.
so powerful. And again, it's the muscle of it. Like I don't have to try hard anymore to change my ifs to win. It just happens now because I've done it so many times that that's my
Mm-hmm.
go-to. That's the new neural firing that happens in my brain is I just know it's when it's going to happen, not if it's going to happen. And I think another like really important piece that is probably pretty like difficult, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but this one's always come really naturally for me, and I think it's so important is to, even if something fails or like doesn't happen the way you want it, that doesn't change your belief that everything you want is still coming. Like that
Mm.
you really view that as just a stepping stone um in where you're going. And if like you're like, I know this is going to happen, I'm waiting for this to happen, I'm expecting this to happen, and then maybe it doesn't happen, that doesn't make you look back and go, oh, I guess I was wrong. Like I still
Mm.
look back and go, no, I'm still right. Like it's all still happening, it's all still coming. And that's like that abundance piece, is like life is happening for me, everything is happening for me.
Yeah.
And that's a huge other piece of abundance, is like what's yours, like what's meant for you will always be yours. Like there,
Mhm.
and that is something that, I mean, that's like some deep inner work to believe that
Mhm.
what's, you can't miss what's yours. Like you have to reach out and grab it, but like
Yeah.
you can't miss it. Like you, what your life is supposed to be is going to happen, and everything is happening for you. um and
It's
it's
that phrase of like every you just said it, but every like this is happening for me, not to me. I think is really
yes,
powerful when I learned that like what I'm going through isn't happening to me, aka falling victim to maybe a trial that you're going through, but this is happening for me because I believe I'm going to sometimes simply just learn something. Like sometimes it's just a lesson,
yeah,
but like that's
yeah,
going to strengthen your character, and that is something happening for you. Like that's an end result that is positive. And I'm not one to be like the silver lining girl that's like um over positive about everything I'm going through. Like I think there's a
right,
balance between like being honest with your grief, being honest with um hard things that are real for everyone. But yeah, that phrase has been one that I'm trying that's a muscle I'm trying to flex and work on right now, is like this is happening for me, not to me. And what about like myself and my character and my beliefs, or fill in the blank, is going to be developed and stronger as a result of this. um it keeps me in a place of like believing in good, believing in more opportunity to come,
yeah.
things like that. um
There's a
and
fine
another piece.
line. Oh, sorry.
No, you're okay, go ahead.
There's like a fine line between toxic positivity and gratitude
Yes.
and abundance mindset, but I do think
Yes.
it's possible. Like it really is possible, because it's a belief and a trust in God or the universe, like whatever your belief system is. It's a deep trust in that, like, you're going to be okay, and that really
Yeah.
everything is happening for you. And it's hard to trust that when you never maybe even see the outcome of how something's happening for
Mm.
you. But like that deep level of trust to know that it still is, even if you may never consciously get to witness, why is this happening for me? Like it's so powerful to have that deep trust in God that like this really is happening for
Yeah.
me. There's this story that I honestly wish I could share in personal detail, but I can't, because
Mm.
it just has to do with some really personal things that Tyler and I went through. Um, but I can still share, like, this was like a couple years ago, went through like one of the most stressful situations and times in our lives together, collectively and individually, with this experience. And let me freaking tell you, there was not a second of that season that I felt like this was happening for me. Like there was no way it was happening to us. It felt horrible. It was so stressful. It was so stressful. And a year later, that what we went through actually ended up like immensely serving us in a way I can't even describe. Like we
Mm.
could not believe a year later going, I can't believe I'm sitting here today looking back saying I'm thankful that happened. Like
Yeah.
we were like mind blown by it. We were like, I cannot believe that we're looking at that situation grateful for it. When in that
Mm.
moment we were like, why are we going through this? Why is this happening? Like I wish this wasn't happening. And then a year later, we were honestly like fortunate enough to be able to actually see it play out in a way where we
Yeah.
got to see like, wow, I'm so thankful that happened. But that experience for both of us had like deeply ingrained this trust of like, actually everything is happening for us. And we believe that now in a way we can't even describe, where when we are going through something tough right now, we look at each other and we're like, we have to believe that this is happening for us and we
Mm,
don't know why, but it is. And like it changes the shittiness of a situation. It honestly does. And it's not toxic positivity. It is that trust. It's just that
mhm.
trust that like it's going to be okay. It's for us. We don't know why, but we're going to trust that it's for us and we're going to get through it. Um, and like that's a better way to live, you guys. Like, don't you want to
Yeah,
live that way instead of believing that like your life is horrible, you don't have enough of anything, you can't get where you want to go? Like, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good. It's a
right.
false sense of safety. It's a complete false sense of safety. And
So
like,
true.
what are the possibilities of your life when you take risks, put yourself out there, you're not afraid to fall, like you're able to view failing as learning
Yeah.
and you don't let it like completely stop you. Like it's a world of possibility.
There's I think we've taught on this specific example before and it keeps coming to my mind because I think people need practical, and you kind of hit on this with like the basketball thing, but I know when I stop and think about like, okay, is this really going to change like my outcomes if I work on this? And here's what I think is a really good example because this was actually kind of true for me in middle school. I was like always pretty good at math until I hit like one specific subject or year of it. Um, and my grades were just like dropping. And it was like, what the heck? Like, I'm honestly like an AB student. This is scary. You know, you put so much pressure on your grades like in those years. And what a fixed mindset would have said and done and lived in was, I guess I'm not as good at math as I thought I was. Like, this is like the end of my success in math.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep failing and I'm not going to graduate or whatever. Versus a growth mindset, which takes a different action and it literally changes the course of your life or your path in that specific realm. And what I did was get a tutor and I got help.
Mhm.
And a growth mindset says, I'm not going to stay bad at math or say bad at this subject. I'm going to
Yeah.
get help. I'm going to have to study harder. I'm going to have to put in more time and more discipline. And then what happened was I did all that. And then like I remember it was like so cute. My next test after all those things were implemented was an A. And it was just like for middle school Ashton, like that was just a really good example that stuck with me that like
That's
I
cute.
implemented these actions instead of accepting like failure and accepting doom for this, like to switch your outcome. Like, what do I want? I want an A again. And then like what's my system that I'm going to put in place here to accomplish what that is? Like that takes some effort and it takes switching and deciding that like my path isn't this, it's going to be this instead. You will see yourself making choices that lead you to the success you want. And those are like those are situations and actions that we want, like I want for myself to keep repeating because then it becomes more natural and it becomes more instinctive. And like you just said the word gratitude earlier in your story, and I think that's one of the things that we've always had in our notes about all this is like, if you're struggling with mindset, just practice gratitude. Like
Yeah.
it will shift the way that you view your own situations. It'll shift the way that you view your own problems going on. It will kind of reset and reframe that negative part of your brain that's like, oh, I don't have enough this, or oh, this is really stressful and I'm short on time again, or like I don't have enough money this month like I thought I would. All of that can run rampant in your brain over and over and over because your brain is like, we need to make moves. We've got to protect ourselves, like our life's in danger. But to stop and pause and make gratitude a very real part of maybe your weekly or daily habits, I think you'll find that that small practice is actually has huge results in the way that you view yourself and the world around
Yeah.
you. And there's gratitude journals out there, but even just like writing it down or like speaking it or prayer or something like that is going to shift again, and I think produce like physical dopamine and serotonin for your body and your brain to like enjoy. And I know that that's like a much more common thing that I think people like talk on or post on Instagram and stuff. Like gratitude can be a big part of their like you said in your 75 soft, right? Like something about, did you put gratitude
Yeah.
in there?
Yeah. Gratitude. I just put gratitude because I'm being really flexible with how I'm gonna do it. But like,
Yeah.
I'll write three things I'm grateful for, or if I'm maybe just like sitting out in the sun, like which is also on my list, and I just like kind of start listing grateful things I'm grateful
Yeah.
for in my life.
Yeah.
I think like growth and fixed mindset, right? Like something like a practical thing to do would be to write like three affirmations, like I am capable of learning new things. I
Mm.
am a problem solver. Um, I can succeed in something I don't know how to do yet, whatever, like affirmations, and then gratitude for the abundance piece. Like, literally, if you wrote down three affirmations like that and three things you are grateful for each day, the way that that would change your mind, like, holy crap. And again, it's a freaking muscle. You don't do it once and all your mindset problems are solved. Like this is something that takes time. It's a lifestyle, like not to be cheesy, but like mindset is literally a journey. It's not a destination. It's not something like
Yeah.
I have learned so much and shifted so much on my mindset, and I still need to be reminded by you or Tyler or whoever who hold me accountable to that mindset, that like when I get off track, because we're human, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have those things come up. It's literally how your body is going to protect you from situations or risk or failure. And um, you need accountability in that. And that's something we wanted to share too, is like in changing your mind, it's because it's such a, I don't want to say like it's hard, because I don't want you to have that view on it, like, oh, this is going to be so hard. But like, it's something that you do need to be held accountable to, because it is a habit. And so if this is something that you want to shift to, first, like really being accountable to yourself is so huge, to just decide that you're going to have the discipline of switching this, like
Mm-hmm.
of recognizing when that little flag comes up, of hearing, of having the self-awareness when you say I don't have enough XYZ, or I can't do that, or whatever, right? Like having that little flag go up. But also for me, I do think like you and Tyler are probably my main two people that like hold me accountable to that, and will like very lovingly and gently correct me, like correct my mindset, and just say like, well, actually, like what if it could be this? Or you're looking at that like really negatively, like let's talk about that. Like we do that for each other. Tyler and I do that for each other. um and finding a safe person that you can do that with, like you can send them this episode and be like, I want to work on this
That's what
with
I was
you, like
thinking.
can
Yeah.
you, like, do you want to be my accountability buddy like in this? um because it is powerful, like who you surround yourself with is so important. Like if you're the fifth person of whoever you surround yourself with, right? Like if you surround yourself with four smokers, you'll be the fifth. If you surround yourself with four athletes, you'll be the fifth. Whatever. Like your circle matters. And so
Yeah.
if you get your circle, if you're already surrounding yourself with these people, great. If you're not, like have those conversations, find people that like this is what they care about, because that's going to become what you care about too.
Yeah, definitely. Um, you mentioned like the risks of working on this mindset, and I think that's one of the things that requires you to look inward and ask yourself like, what's at risk? If I want to address this, if I know that I'm someone with a fixed, a negative, a lack mindset, um what is required for me to work on this? And it's so true. This is just like going to the gym, which this year I've worked really hard at doing, and I did fall off, and I'm going back again. And it's the same with mindset. Like I've had seasons of like a lot of consistency with this and being strong, and like I can point to stuff this year talking to Carissa, and I'm like, honestly, my mindset's just like super crappy about this, and I need to like reshift. But what is hard about choosing to work on this is there's like threats there, or there's like a lot of risk. People view risk so negatively, because you can't predict like what the outcome's going to be if you're risking something, if you're investing in something. Like you don't know what the outcome's going to be, like how much you're going to get back, how much is going to come back if you start a side hustle, if you start a business or try something new. And I think there's this huge aspect of courage that comes with and bravery that comes with like working on your mindset, and honestly being that much more self-aware. If you're a very negative person, I would ask yourself, like, what is behind all this negativity? Like, what is at the root of
Yeah.
me feeling afraid to actually address or be honest with myself in these areas? Because most of the time, I would say, I've ventured to say, there's a lot of fear at the bottom of it all. Like there's just fear. There's fear of result. There's fear of failure. There's fear of success for people. Um, and if you want to address that or change that fear, or take fear off the front burner and put it on the back burner, it's going to require a lot of honesty with yourself. And I think that's, to circle back to self compassion, why we said that at the beginning. Like,
Mhm.
it's okay to be afraid. Just like say what it is, just speak it out loud. Don't make it more than it is. But I do think sharing in this with someone is so vital, because we can get stuck in our own heads. We can feel like we're a bit of an island in our own minds. But when I tell Carissa, this is something that I'm struggling with, this is a mindset issue that I'm having trouble with, I've now spoken it out to someone else. Or if I tell Will, like, this is an area that I just am not conquering very well, then I'm opening myself up to let other people speak into me and speak into my situations that we often just can't do on our own, unless
Yeah.
you're that random unicorn that just like doesn't struggle with this stuff. I do think
Impossible.
in the midst of,
That person doesn't
yeah,
exist.
it's like there is a vulnerability aspect that comes with this mindset stuff, because you let people into those dark places, those scary
Yeah.
places, and just revealing, like, I'm honestly just afraid of this. Like Chris and I, years ago with business, like I just had very honest conversation about like where my mind was with my photography business. And it was like, I'm honestly just scared of what people think of me. And that was at the very, very bottom
Right.
of the way I was
All of
reacting
it.
and responding. And it's like, well, what? Like we just paused. I remember being on my couch and like just breaking it down and being like, no, like it's not about that. Like what is actually going on? And like that mindset issue, becoming aware of that has shifted, dare I say, everything for my businesses. Like
Yeah.
it's not that I'm perfect now, and it's not that that's not hard for me or an issue for me anymore, but I'm aware of it. Someone else in my life is aware of it. And I feel like my power is back because I've spoken it out loud and I've spoken it with other people and I've addressed it head on. And so it is now losing its power. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there's such a
Yeah.
different shift there. And I think that's why we have to hit on this like idea of accountability with someone, because that's when you will actually experience growth, instead of trying to do this on your own and like stick to your little bubble and like not let anyone in. You're sticking in like a fixed mindset if you're not choosing to like let even just one person in. Find a
Yeah.
trusted person, and I think that's where you will start to see immense growth.
Right. And like be have a conversation with that person and say tell them what's going on, tell them you want to be led, like you want to do this for each other. And I think something else that you and I both do, I do this with Tyler, I know you do this with Will, is like, can you just like, I'll just tell Tyler, like, I just want to like share my like messy, unfiltered thoughts with you. Or like you and I
Yeah.
will say that. And it's just, you just like put yourself on this stage of like, don't judge me. I'm just going to like
Yeah.
say some shit right now. And it's going to
Hmm.
sound whatever. And I just need to say it out loud. And you say it out loud and you feel better. And then you can move on and kind of work on your mindset. But I'm definitely a verbal processor and it helps me to just like get everything out. And then I can actually like see what I really believe, because your feelings are not facts. And like when you have all
Right.
these feelings and emotions in you and you can just say them out loud, bring them to the light, then you're able to actually like, kind of use your logic brain and be realistic. Okay, Do I actually think that having not a lot of followers is going to stop me from success? No, obviously I can grow following. That's what everybody else does. Like, you got to just get your emotions out, and then you can actually come back to logic. And as an emotional person, like, logic is actually very helpful because it's like
Yes.
grounded, it's true, it's stable, it's an equation, it's factual. Like, your emotions can really take over as a creative. And when you can sit in the logic seat, you can kind of access your mindset from there, I think, a little bit easier, and know what is true and what is possible, because that's what's real. Like, all the other things, your fears, everything holding you back, like, that's the emotions that aren't facts, right? um so yeah, just getting it all out in the
It's
open.
good. Word vomit that mindset
We love a
situation.
little word vomit sesh.
Oh man, I literally leave these, like, we'll teach on this stuff and I'm like, I'm inspired. I'm inspired again.
I
I'm
know,
like,
I
I
know.
need this stuff for myself all the time.
Okay, so we're probably gonna have approximately 27,000 more episodes on mindset. But I think this was a good, just like, beginning little taste of
Yeah.
kind of like the base of where mindset starts.
I love it. This is so good.
Love it.
Well, that's it for
Share
now.
share this episode if you found it helpful. Rate us 5 stars because you love us.
Will just walked into the house and scared me to death.
Oh, I was like, what just happened on the other end there? Because you got
You
We're
do
distracted.
like,
not love
Hi,
that for
Will.
us.
I did not love that for us. He never comes in the front door and he just did. And it just threw me off. Like, I don't know what we just said for the last
We have a
30
little
seconds.
guest appearance by Will. I won't lie, it was a very
Whew.
awkward last 30 seconds, and I wasn't
Yeah,
sure
I'm
if
sorry.
it's okay. I wasn't sure if you're
I
like,
was like, I'm
uh,
either like getting murdered in real time. It's going to be recorded
you were
and on the
scared to turn around.
podcast, or my husband's home. So
You were speaking so slowly. I was like, is her audio
is
glitching? I
she
was really
okay?
trying to play it cool. That's so
Oh my
funny.
gosh, the pure panic in my body was lack mindset.
Ooh, I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you're okay. And I'm glad it was just Will.
Okay, everyone, like, subscribe, follow, and share. We love you all.
See you next week.
Bye.